Today on the Topping Show, Joy Reid claims that Donald Trump cheated in the 2024 presidential election in order to win. Bill Burr claims that the Los Angeles Fire Department and California in general is doing a great job handling the fires. The FDA has officially authorized Zyn nicotine pouches for sale. Lexus kills the RC, rest in peace, their big old V8 coupe. Also, the FTC is going to be suing John Deere for monopolizing repairs. And lastly, Chrysler to stop their EV development for their SUV. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special preference in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. It's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase. Yes, it does come with a fun Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more, or click the URL in the video description below. Lastly, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have some sad news. Lexus is officially killing the RC and taking away the V8 coupe they once had, and some people did love. Now, this comes to us thanks to Nico, who's a writer at The Drive, which they say, quote, the Lexus RC is going away and is taking the V8 RCF with it. Yet another big displacement, naturally aspirated V8 coupe bites the dust as they become more and more rare. And there you can see the top trim level of the Lexus, and it looks pretty cool. I mean, unfortunately, you know me, my cars always have to have 3 pedals, also known as manual transmission, so not, I was about to say not my cup of tea, but I'm not British, I'm American, so not my brew of Yangling beer, which incidentally enough is the only beer company that isn't owned by a major corporation. It's still family owned after all these years, literally the oldest brewery in history. Not sponsored, but just a fan, though I partially digress. Now, they say, quote, sorry about that, diving the actual article here. They say, I've always admired the Lexus RF from afar, but I've never driven one. I adore the way it looks, the fact that it's rear-wheel drive based, and that it offers both a naturally aspirated V6 and V8. So it's a little sad, even surprising, that the Lexus is finally killing the RC off after its 11-year run. Unfortunately, most of the RC lineup is going out with a whimper, not a bang. Only mild changes have been made for the final year of RC's life, like F Sport rear-wheel drive models getting red brake calipers instead of orange, which that's like or they're just adding a couple more drops of dye into the paint bottle. That's one of the laziest things I've ever heard of in terms of making a change. For a second, I almost thought this was General Motors. Now they say, quote, still for Lexus loyal fans, those little changes proved your car to be a final model of the year and somewhat special. Yeah, I don't know about that. Again, this isn't like, I don't think it's going to be put in a time capsule and going to be auctioned off at Barrett Jackson auction in a couple decades for, 6 figures plus. It's, yeah, by no means going to be considered a collectible. I mean, the interior looks okay, but ooh, look at that. That automatic transmission shifter is an abomination to the V8. They should all have a stick shift. They should all have a manual transmission bolted to the engine by default, obviously, but I partially digress. Now they say, quote, however, there is a Lexus RCF Final Edition, the only version of the RC sold for 2025, which lets you breathe the brand's stylish coupe and go out in a cloud of tire smoke. Its glorious 5-liter free-breathing V8 still makes 472 horsepower, which is still sent through an 8-speed automatic to just the rear tires, which it's fun that it's real drive, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I wouldn't brag about, oh, it's got an 8-speed automatic transmission. I mean, you mean like most cars that aren't EVs these days? Like, I mean, what's the Chrysler family have now for their transmission? Like 12 gears in it? I'm only partially exaggerating. That company's a joke in and of itself in more ways than not. Now, they continue to say, quote, but now you have also 19-inch forged aluminum BBS wheels, Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, carbon fiber aero bits, and 4 colors. Incognito. I don't think they made this with Google. I don't think. Radiant Red, Sonic Iridium, and Ultra White. Surprised they went with that last color, but I partially digress. Lexus also says the engine and rear differential have been retuned for smoother operation, which, great, they did some software development. And here you can see the glorious, impressive, the red brake calipers, which, again, they look cooler than, just having plain old non-colored brake calipers, but it's fine they're making a big deal by going from orange to red, which an enthusiast and someone who's really dedicated to the brand will notice that, but 99% of people won't be able to. They won't know this is the final year, the final send off. If they really want to do a final great send off, again, they would probably lose money on this, but come out with a V8 and a stick shift. So get the best of both worlds, put that in the car, and go all out with everything. Again, I don't know if it'd be a loss leader, but I don't know. I think it'd be cool to do a proper send off, but that's just me. They also note that the R8 has been showing its age for years, progressively getting more old-fashioned as newer competition came out. Modern rivals like the BMW 4 Series and Audi S5 made the RC feel like a dinosaur of the segment. It always had made its charming. It stuck to the old school recipe of larger, naturally aspirated engines up front and drive to the back. Sure, there's a Turbo 4 model and even a hybrid, but the Lexus RC never ditched the V8, which, again, I do appreciate it. It's sad that it's becoming rarer and rarer in the United States, but Trump in office, hopefully that changes. Maybe he'll make America shift again, perhaps. I will give a $10,000 tax incentive for every new car sold the stick shift. I mean, it worked for the EVs. That was one of the biggest reasons people adapted those abominations. I'm only partially kidding, exaggerating. There's a couple of use cases where an EV will make sense, but I don't like to feel dead inside, so I like my Honda Civic Si with the stick shift. I can go darn near everywhere in that place, though not very quickly. But it's fun to stick shift, downshift in the corners. I partially digress, though. Now they continue saying, well, while it makes sense that this is the RC's final year in production, as LS needs to move on finally, that doesn't mean it'll leave without a few tears being shed. Its kick-ass styling and raucous engine will sorely be missed, which, I don't know. This reminds me of a lot of cars where it had potential, and shoot, it's almost like the Nissan GTR. They put a lot of research development into that vehicle, and then for like over a decade, they basically did nothing. They changed the body panels by a little bit, but the transmission was always automatic. Disappointing, obviously, but they really didn't put much effort into really improving the vehicle year over year, or even having like a major improvements every 5 years. So they say this will be missed, and I'm sure some people will miss it. And the only sad part is, yeah, there's a nice V8 luxury vehicle. But that being said, if I won the lottery and I was in a position to buy a luxury vehicle as opposed to my little Honda Civic Si, or maybe I've never saw her. I love her too much. That little green mean machine. If I were to become audaciously rich and buy expensive luxury vehicle that's sporty, I'd buy a Cadillac CT4V Blackwing or a CT5V Blackwing because, well, the CT4V Blackwing is twin turbo V6 and CT5V Blackwing is a V8 with both with stick shift options. And they got nice copious amounts of leather, probably 3 cows or murder just to get in there, which again is 110% renewable resources. Cows make more cows. I would argue that's the best thing for the environment is to use more leather. So I got a leather couch behind me, though. Can't really see it on camera. But yeah, it's one of those things where I would get the Cadillac because it's more sporty. This is, again, for a lot of people, this would be sporty-ish. It's got the paddle shifters, which I think is an abomination to the automobile. But some people do appreciate the paddle shifters. So this is a sporty luxury vehicle. But again, the other ones had just as big engines. And they had the stick shift option. BMW still has the option. Cadillac still has the option. And again, granted, those cars will probably break down after a couple of miles. That's kind of what Toyota is known for in terms of they'll beat the wheels out the competition and reliability-wise. This thing will probably hit 1 million miles without even shedding so much as a tear because it's, Toyota, Lexus. But I'm not sure how many people will actually miss this vehicle. Again, it's got pretty cool styling, but they never really put the effort into, showing off its capabilities at the track or, really putting big marketing initiatives behind it. But let me know, is this something where, have you ever seen it on the road and like actually turned your head? Do you know anyone who even bought it and appreciated it? And then do you know anyone who's going to go out and buy the final edition because it's got red brake calipers and a couple extra bits of carbon fiber taped on 3M tape? Not that there's anything wrong with 3M tape. It's a great, reliable tape. But let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Chrysler stopping their EV SUV development, making all 18 prospective clients very, very sad. They'll probably buy literally any other brand that has an EV SUV, and they'll probably be just fine because they won't have to worry about bankruptcy or insolvency, unlike Chrysler, which has gone bankrupt multiple times, and they've been bought out multiple times. I don't know if there's any demand for me to do a book of the month, though I do read a book of the month. We're currently reading Iacocca, who famously turned around Chrysler the first time. It's been that company's been in turmoil for half a century plus. It's sad how much Mr. Chrysler's brand companies kind of just failed time and time again. And famously, when they went bankrupt in 2009, they sold out to Fiat, a European company, which again was bought by someone else and rebranded. So now it's known as Stellantis, which is the new parent company of Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep, which used to be American brands, and still have a cult following for the Jeep. I'll give them respect there. And now they're starting to realize we needed to maybe consolidate our brands or resources, and I don't know how many people want this to begin with. Now this comes with this thanks to Nico. Now Nico says, quote, Chrysler halts electric SUV development, tells suppliers to stop spending. In leaked notices to suppliers, Chrysler said it's putting development of its Airflow SUV on hold. It's not clear if it'll restart, if ever, which I venture to say probably never. Because if you buy an electric SUV, probably going to get a Tesla. Maybe you'll buy, was it the Rivian or something else? But again, when people think quality, unfortunately not anymore. I mean, even in the 70s and 90s, people thought Chrysler quality was always third to Ford and General Motors. But I mean, when it comes to EVs, especially, would you want to go with Chrysler? Or again, they have, I believe, 17 brands of Stellantis' portfolio. I can't but think they'll probably have to kill some of these brands like Chrysler to just keep the company afloat. Now, that being said, it looks like a bland, boring EV SUV like they all do, really. It looks like perhaps a bastardized Fiat, which also recently went bankrupt. Now they say, quote, remember the Chrysler Airflow electronic crossover concept from a few years ago? It's okay, I forgot too. Yeah, no one remembers that. It's a bummer that Chrysler began so quiet about the Airflow because it could have acted as the brand's EV flagship. No, it couldn't. They say during its transition from the minivan maker to the aspirational brand. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Some extremely talented marketing people, engineering resources and leaders can turn darn near any brand around. Now, the issue with Chrysler is I don't know anyone in my lifetime who's ever aspired to own a Chrysler vehicle, and I don't know what you would need to do to make that radically different. I will delineate that some people do aspire to own like a cool Dodge, get a nice Dodge Viper, which is a naturally aspirated V10 with a stick shift. I love that purist mindset. I know people that aspire to that, but in terms of a Chrysler specific, most people think of the Pacifica, which is the minivan, or the Dodge Grand Caravan, which same thing with different logos and badges taped to it. I don't know anyone who in my lifetime, the Chrysler 200 was a success in terms of a massive volume of units sold, but no one's ever aspired to own a Chrysler in the past half a century, I believe. So it would take a lot of marketing, a lot of engineering, a lot of increased quality to have someone say, I really want I want to own a Chrysler, not I have to own a Chrysler or I couldn't afford something better. Now, they say, unfortunately, things are looking even worse for the stylish concept today. First reported by Mopar insiders, Chrysler has now confirmed that the Airflow has been shelved for the time being. Now, a brand representative said, quote, Chrysler brand CEO Chris Fudell, he exists? Is he just inebriated 24/7? Or is he on vacation in like the Bahamas? I know they had a brand ambassador because again, they barely have a brand. Just go to Chrysler.com. They make one vehicle now, which is their rudimentary, minivan, which used to sell like hotcakes back in the day. I mean, shoot, my parents had a Dodge Grand Caravan, which I would argue is 100% good for the environment because after a couple of years, it turned to rust and disintegrated into the ground, as many of those vehicles did. But yeah, since then, I don't know many people have bought a Chrysler, and yet they have a brand ambassador. So he's not doing a very good job because most people forgot about the brand or don't really have favorable memories of it. But apparently he exists. Probably overpaid, but he says, quote, Chrysler brand CEO Chris Fudell confirms the program is paused for now as we assess the market and the customer's needs and wants. Unquote. Yeah, partially because one of the biggest decreasing interests in the market right now is EVs. The adoption rate, rather, is decreasing. There's more EV sales, but they are slowly but surely decreasing that rate of adoption. One of the biggest growing categories in the US are hybrid vehicles. Not that I'm a fan, but that's where the consumer segment is growing the most in terms of the adoption rate for new vehicles. Yet again, Toyota, reading the room right, investing more into hybrid technologies the past 2 years than pretty much all the other companies combined. Now, she continues to say, quote, she added that Chrysler's brand celebrates its 100th anniversary over the summer, which is quite sad because, again, it used to be worth something. They're going to refresh the Chrysler Pacifica coming in 2026, a new crossover coming soon after a third product inspired by the Halcyon concept to follow. Which here you can see another picture of the abomination of this concept, which again doesn't look different enough from the competition, in my opinion. Now they say, quote, is this the first setback for the Airflow? In 2023, Stellantis design boss Ralph Gills told Motor Trend that the project had been restarted from a blank slate, as Fudel wanted to go in a different direction. Quote, she wanted a statement that had literally zero to do with anything that you would see today, even an airflow concept car, which, epic fail. It looks like darn near every other EV just slightly changed in Photoshop. Now, they also say that, quote, the airflow was supposed to be built on Stellantis STLA large platform, the same one that underpins the new electric Dodge Charger and Jeep Wagoneer S, under the codename C6XCA. A source close to Mopar insiders sent the site a screenshot through an email, seemingly as part of a group correspondence from Stellantis to part suppliers. They say, quote, dear supplier, CX8 program has been put on hold until further notice. Therefore, any spending associated with this program should be suspended immediately. Now, I'll add one more eyesore to the day and show you the rear of that vehicle, which again, now they say, quote, if legitimate, this email isn't quite an absolute cancellation of the project, but it's not an encouraging sign. Stellantis is in a comfortable spot right now, especially in the U.S., with sales flattening or dropping each year since 2021. Yeah, Stellantis, again, Chrysler is part of the bigger company. Overall, their sales are down around 40 to 45%, same with the profit. So it's a good time to buy one of their vehicles because they're desperate to sell them. They'll discount the crap out of them. I know one person's bought a Dodge in the past couple of years, and they got a pretty good deal. But yeah, that brand is struggling. The dealerships are irate because they can't make any money. And consumers, all 10 of them, are only moderately satisfied. So again, I'm not too surprised that they're putting this on pause. And I have no idea how they're going to reinvigorate the brand. Or, I mean, if there really is any upside left with the Chrysler brand specifically. The crossover might do good if it's a hybrid or an ICE engine. Because again, I mean, minivans is where there's bread and butter, but we've seen that kind of move away past couple years in terms of consumer preferences. But, I mean, even then, what would you rather have? And granted, it's a minivan. No one would probably want that except a parent. But what would you rather have for your family? Let's see. A Honda Odyssey, which incidentally enough has nothing to do with Homer's Odyssey or the Iliad. But, they have a Honda Odyssey, which should come with that free book, but I partially digress. You also have, the Toyota Sierra? Nothing to do with Sierra Mist. No free soda when you buy it. Another lost marketing opportunity. I have no idea who's in charge of the marketing department over there. But would you rather have one of those two minivans or a Chrysler van? Which one's more reliable? Probably, yeah, literally no one on the planet would say Chrysler. I mean, the Toyotas are so reliable, you see paint crews using them instead of like a dedicated commercial vehicle because they're darn near bulletproof. So they're going to put this vehicle on pause. But I think the summer is just going to be a sad reminder of, oh yeah, the company's, I mean, you could argue it's technically not really around because it's sold multiple times. It's really, and all the executive decisions are mostly overseas. But yeah, I'm not surprised they put this on a pause, and Lord only knows what they're going to do to try to turn that company around. And let me know your thoughts. Do you know anyone in the past 5 years who's ever bought a Chrysler product? We'll even expand it to the Stellantis group, which should help because everyone buys a truck every once in a while and they'll buy a Dodge. And then I know one person got a Dodge SUV, partially because they got it for 10 grand off sticker. But that's a pretty small sample size. But let me know in the comments because, as always, be best in here what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Report podcast, you have Joy Reid saying that Trump, quote-unquote, cheated to win the 2024 presidential election, as she continues to be the most ironically named person in history, someone named Joy, who is literally joyless. It is such a comical name, I didn't even think it was real when I first heard of her. Almost as ridiculous as having a name like Topping. Oh wait, I partially digress. Now, this comes to us thanks to Libs at TikTok, which she says, quote, Justin, Joy Reid is now claiming that Donald Trump and the Republicans cheated to win the 2024 presidential election. Sounds like election denial. I was told this is a threat to our democracy. Which, yeah, the hypocrisy of the mainstream media and the leftists are never ending, really. And I apologize. I should have put a visual warning on the screen because now you have to see something that is debatably more visually repulsive than myself. Joy Reid, which is saying something, as well as her friend. Is it friend or daughter or cousin? Jacqueline Reid? Interesting. And of course, cliche, they are drinking wine.
They're even talking about stealing an election.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's making me rethink whether I do believe election machines can be hacked. Because I've always been you can't hack the election machines, but they're convincing me, I don't know, maybe you can. I don't know.
I mean, to me, in this world, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
There are all these conspiracy theories out there about Trump and whether or not they cheated. I know you say that they didn't, but I know you kind of have to say that.
I didn't say they didn't. What I said is there's there is a rational explanation for why Kamala Harris could have lost those swing states and Trump won them. There's a way you can get to those numbers with people staying home or only voting for Trump and not the rest of the ballot. I'm saying there's a history of that. However,
let me hear it, because
what I will say is there was absolute voter suppression that took place, and I consider that cheating. If you think about the vote,
this is the biggest cliche Democrats have been using as a scapegoat for like a decade now. Voter suppression. Have you ever met anyone who said, "I really wanted to vote, but I was stopped"? I mean, I've yet to find this group of people where they go, "Oh yeah, we wanted to vote. We did all the legal things, but we were denied. We're suppressed." I mean, they've been talking about this for a decade, and they don't have anyone coming on screen, and they haven't found them. The closest they can get is some people. Actually, I don't even know if we have video of someone saying, "I couldn't vote because I didn't have an ID," which again is a law in every sane state. Fascinating how Kamala only won in states that do not require voter ID. Fascinating coincidence, I'm sure. But yeah, voter suppression. Peace Louise.
Voter law in your state of Georgia, that law is anti-voter. When you have bomb threats only in Fulton County, we don't know how many people stayed home out of fear because of the bomb threats in Fulton County. When you have Elon Musk waving around $1 million checks in order for people to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Right. There's
that was for a super PAC and to pledge that you want America first and you're a fan and you're loyal to the Constitution. It wasn't an explicit promise that you're going to vote for Donald Trump. Also, no offense to Elon, I think he has a lot of great characteristics, but in terms of the grand scale of things, he doesn't spend as much as like George Soros or someone on the far left. What was it? Mark Zuckerberg put about $200 million into the 2020? Yeah, no, 2022 midterms, I believe. Or was it the last election? I mean, Elon spent a fair amount of money, but relative to the other side, no. Basically drops in the bucket. But it's okay when the rich people on their side do it. Mm-hmm.
So many things that were done that were nefarious, to put aside just the actual voter suppression in these anti-voter laws that kept people from registering, that messed up people's voter registration when they showed up and all of a sudden they're not on the rolls.
But that happens every year, right? That happens
every
all
election.
the time.
So yeah,
what
I
I'm
think
talking about are these conspiracy theories about Elon Musk, somehow using his tech connections, because I don't want to say genius because we know he's not.
Yeah, he ain't a genius.
But those relationships or whatever, because they just seem too confident. Genius because we, talking about that happens
every
all
election.
the time.
So yeah,
what
I
I'm
think
talking about are these conspiracy theories about Elon Musk, somehow using his tech connections, because I don't want to say genius because we know he's not.
Yeah, he ain't a genius.
But
how dumb are they? The hubris. He's not a genius. The guy makes rockets for a living. He makes an EV car for a living. He literally made electric vehicles profitable for the first time in history. He overcome the most irresponsible thing on the planet is starting a car company. The last successful American car company in history prior to Tesla was Chrysler, which subsequently went bankrupt a couple times. That's one of the most mentally vacuous things I've heard from Joy Reid, which is saying that Elon Musk isn't a genius. Again, I don't agree with everything Elon Musk does or says, but there's no denying that he is one of the most intelligent individuals on the planet. He's literally a rocket scientist. Yet they say, oh no, he's not a genius. I mean, especially in contrast to Joy Reid, he's like an ultra genius. But I partially digress.
We know he's not.
Yeah, he ain't a genius.
But those relationships or whatever, because they just seem too confident. And I know, and I'm not saying it was the voting machines or whatever. It just doesn't add up to me with all the support that she had. And I know that for you, and because of what happened with Fox and because what you do professionally with the network, you can't say it was the machines or something like that. But if you think it was the machines, but you can't say, just don't say anything. See, this is what I'm saying.
I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is,
no, I know.
There are many ways to cheat in an election. And I don't ever put it past Republicans to cheat in elections because they've been busted too many times.
They have. Who do dead people always vote for? Like every time there's another case where someone goes, oh yeah, they died like 10 years ago. Who do they vote for? Democrats? It's been that way for over a decade. It's so done so often, it's a cliche. Who was the one that actually boarded up windows so you couldn't see what was going on during the 2020 election? But somehow, the most fascinating phenomenon is Joy Reid is still a profitable talent in terms of she gets paid to be, on the television and on the air, and enough people tune in to actually make that a profitable thing. That still blows my mind. I can't help but wonder if it's like kind of like a car crash. Everyone wants to stop and look at it. Does everyone just watch Joy Reid just because of the sheer ineptitude she encapsulates? Which is coming for myself. Granted, I'm still working on my speaking skills. Lord knows I have a long way to go. Which is why I always tell people to subscribe to the channel, because when I first started, no one tuned in. I spoke way too fast, even faster than today. But as I slowly but surely get more subscribers, been slowly but surely improving my speaking acumen. Low bar to begin with, yes, nevertheless, but that's why I always say click that subscribe button, because it'll make me a better speaker, I believe. Now, going to the comments, you got about 300,000 views and 13,000 likes. Well, the first comment comes from Gunther Eagleman, saying, quote, Joy Reid is now a race-baiting election denier, getting 917 likes, which used to get you banned on the YouTube and major social media platforms. Fascinating how they changed that right before the recent election. Cash Loren also says, Joy Reid is election denier and a threat to our democracy, getting 40 likes. Cool Christian Engineer says, quote, Joy Reid caught lying again, getting 18 likes. You have David Sullivan, pronounced prosecute Fauci, saying Joy Reid should come to the inauguration. Not going to get 14 likes. Let's see here. Anyone sticking up for Joy Reid? Official leftist translator, aka Tony, says, quote, the left have been denying election results for decades now. If the right does it, it's a criminal act. When the left does it, it's for defending democracy. You don't get the memo? Getting 17 likes, which, yep, that's what always happens in mainstream media. Wall Street Silver also says, why is she still in the air? Getting 45 likes. Sasquatch, he finally came out of the woods. I'm surprised he has good cell phone reception out there. Perhaps he uses Starlink. Now, Sasquatch has a meme of the pirates that says, I'm the captain now. And instead of the pirate's name, the DNC, says, look at me, I'm an election denier now. Which, yeah, it's probably a terrible impression, but the attempt was made. Got 15 likes for that. Steve says, lock her up, getting 70 likes. Tom Tuttle has an AI-generated picture of Joy Reid in a clown costume. I think. Maybe it is real. The resemblance is uncanny. Drinking more wine, getting 18 likes. I also have Greg saying, imagine wearing a sweater with the word melanin on it while listening to everyone else is a race-obsessed racist. Getting 25 likes. What did your sweater say? I don't know what that means. Melanie? Yeah. Melanin? That must be perhaps a rapper or an author I don't know about yet. Also have Old School Eddie saying, quote, that one thrives off propaganda and hate. It's her bread and butter, getting 23 likes. Mary Lingo Ross says, Joyless Reid, really? Has a picture of Joy Reid with her wig on and says, Joy Reid, when you hate white people but love their hair, getting 18 likes, which, I mean, she really hates Donald Trump to her core, and yet she copies his hairstyle to the T. It looks just like it. A couple more memes of the Tom Hanks movie where they says, I'm the captain now, but says, I'm the election denier now. I also have Highgates having the Jim from the Office meme, but it's with JD Vance. It says, it does sound familiar. Getting 16 likes. So, yeah, not too many people stick up for Joy Reid these days, which, again, I kind of wonder, like, the view. Do most people watch it just to laugh at it as opposed to genuinely, like, tune in? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Joy Reid is still profitable from a talent perspective? Do people actually tune in and watch her because they like her? Or just because they find her funny? Not funny on purpose, but funny in terms of her ineptitudes and lack of intellect. Let me know in the comments because, as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Bill Burr saying that the LAFD in California are doing a great job handling the fire as he continues to become more and more of a leftist, which, yeah, I can't help but think his wife is influencing him more and more. And yeah, it's not like he's been like a right-wing guy for years, but I think in the past he's more in the middle, maybe a little bit right. But yeah, this is pure delusion from Bill Burr now. Now this comes to us thanks to Leonard Johnny saying, quote, you either die a hero or live long enough to become Bill Burr.
The wind.
At least he suited up. He did one thing right.
The winds moved, but the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky.
Are you guys back in?
And I think everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Unlike the internet,
Yeah, right, I know. Right?
Oh my God. All of these fire experts. Why didn't you just fly a helicopter into the ocean and then just I don't know, because there was 100-knot winds.
He does realize that Sikorsky, one of the most famous, successful helicopter manufacturers on the planet, they do have helicopters that do that. I mean, Mythbusters even had an episode where they talk about the myth of actually having one of those helicopters with the fire suppression helicopters, where they put the tube in the water and someone in a scuba suit gets sucked into that and they drop it on fire. Like, they've had those helicopters for decades. And also, you don't have to be a genius to realize that you need water to fight fires, which apparently the LAFD didn't realize, as they had most water reserves not prepared, some not even done being constructed, and some not having any water at all. Again, you don't need to be a scientist or a genius to realize you should have water in your water reserves to fight fire. That's perhaps one of the most simplistic things mankind has ever learned in our existence. Probably one of the first things we ever did learn, matter of fact. But I partially digress.
You want to do that? You want to do that at night, you lunatic?
How are you?
This was definitely mismanaged.
That's a big word we're hearing now.
Mismanaged, like some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in LA, sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this...
I would argue that the average person sitting in their underwear at home is infinitely smarter than any politician or leader in California these days. I mean, the bar is really that low. And also, those people are morons in California leadership, which again, they prioritized diversity over strength in terms of, they literally, I'll never forget this. One of the gals getting paid $350,000 plus per year, one of the leaders at the LAFD, she literally said if a man got stuck in the fire, well, he can get himself out. She wouldn't save him. Which no honorable or intellectual person would ever say in terms of if your job is to save people. Yeah. And yet they save people in the right victim blame. Mm-hmm.
This here was mismanaged.
You know about helicopters because I remember, and it's interesting now thinking about it, because you said
I don't know about it. I know about the one that I fly. Other than that, I don't know anything about it.
You know
but
something
if you're on
about...
the internet, you know everything.
I hope you know about it, because you said that you got your pilot's license in case like all hell broke loose in L.A., you could get out of L.A., and at any moment, did you think, I'm going to make a run for that helicopter?
Well, the error in my thought was I didn't realize how expensive helicopters were. So all I have is a two-seater, and I didn't want to have to make Sophie's choice with my family. So, we all piled into the SUV like everybody else. But no, man, these guys were out there clearing the trees, getting the wires back up and everything. I mean, it was like the perfect awful thing that could have happened, and it did. And I love how all the chatter out there is about bands of illegal immigrants and homeless people lighting fires. They light fires every day. They're living outside. They're cold. And this theory that some homeless guy without a car went from Altadena all the way to the Pacific Palisades, and then we have a hang glider.
I mean, we found that some of it was caused by arson. I mean, does he not know that?
And they're talking about looting, but CNN and Fox News are not going to bring up the insurance companies that are just going to keep everybody's premiums and still give themselves a bonus. Yeah. Yes. Free Luigi.
So he praises the guy who assassinated the head of United Healthcare, which again, people think insurance companies are massively profitable. Some are. Healthcare, because of the amalgamation of terrible having government mixing in the private sector, healthcare makes about 2% profit. That's not a lot. That's basically the same as the grocery industry. It's terrible. Pharmaceuticals, that's like 40 to 50% profit. If you want to actually talk about who makes the most money in that equation. But yeah, now he's saying how he wants to praise the assassin. Well, let me hear that one more time. Maybe I misunderstood it. Maybe he's a comedian. Maybe he's making a joke.
News are not going to bring up the insurance companies that are just going to keep everybody's premiums.
Also, California capped the insurance companies so they would lose money. It's not a coincidence that insurance companies are leaving one of the most largest markets on the planet. Again, just think about cars. I mean, the reason why California is so important, unfortunately, in terms of business, is, I mean, for cars alone, it's the 10th largest market on the planet. And that's why everyone will cater to their environment, because there's so many people who somehow, for some reason, choose to live there. And the state said, we're going to cap you're going to cap the insurance, so you can't raise it more than this. Which, again, insurance companies, whether you like it or not, they need to make a profit. I'm not saying, I know there's a lot of disdain for the insurance industry in general for denying claims. I think many people have been there. I was very fortunate. I mean, talking about auto insurance, I've had a pretty good relationship with they helped me out within it was their duty to, they didn't acquiesce from the responsibility, though I understand that might not be the average interaction. And he's saying, oh yeah, those evil insurance companies, well, they left California because they were losing money. They're going into the red. I mean, there's a reason so many of these companies left. If they're making money, if they're profitable, they would stay there. But again, California government pushed them out. But yet we vote for.
And still give themselves a bonus. Yeah. Yes. Free Luigi. I love how they acted surprised. Why did that happen? I have no idea. He wrote on the bullets why it happened.
Oh, we're back to Luigi. Okay, yeah.
I never left Luigi. The win.
At least he does look spiffy in his nice black suit and plays a Rolex Submariner. So at least he looked good on the show. And it's just when I thought Jimmy Kimmel couldn't get it more any insufferable, you have that. Yep. So yeah, Bill Burr is burning Bill Burr under his reputation. I'm sure there's some pun in there. I'm not a stand-up comedian, obviously. But yeah, it went pretty well. I got 1 million views as well as 22,000 likes. One of the first comments coming from, I'm a little biased, but I think this guy's a little handsome and brilliant. Me, hashtag the Topping Show on X, saying, quote, his Howard Stern moment, LL, getting 3 likes. Robert Murphy says, quote, this must have been tough for you. It would be like meeting Thomas Sowell and turning into a communist, and then he got famous, getting 246 likes, which, yeah, Thomas Sowell's the most brilliant man out there. So because he has, extreme acumen and intelligence, he would never become a communist. Samantha Meathy says, quote, more scapegoating without providing a solution. He's become a leftist, getting 499 likes. Yep. They get 500 likes. Because again, everyone's disdain with the insurance company. That business, literally just, if you want change in the world, violence is very rarely, if ever, the answer. These insurance companies, it doesn't solve the core issue, which is, in my opinion, the government getting involved in the situation, driving up the cost and driving up the complexity. And again, I don't think anyone's happy with insurance, or rather the healthcare in the U.S. in general, but it's because of the gross amalgamation of the two. Now, you also have, let's see here, Horace Manville says, quote, he has become careful in criticizing Newsom. His wife had a career in Democrat, and just like that, they go after his career after him. Same as comedian, he is somewhat able to be critical. Protecting your family, but not being political can prevent cancellation. 30 likes. Charlie Mayer, which, yeah, his wife is very much an insufferable leftist. She famously flipped off Donald Trump for having the audacity of walking past her at a UFC event, which is the sheer lack of intellect from her. But nevertheless, you have Christy Mayer saying, quote, he just needs a cigar and to be petting a white cat from the secret lair, getting 115 likes. Danny Mendez says, quote, he ate the delicious steak, which is a reference to The Matrix, one of the best movies of all time, I would argue, and still time proven. It's crazy it came out in 99, and the CGI might look as great as today, but still holds up. I got 40 likes in Cypher eating the steak. GB says, quote, he's talking crap about people on the internet at the same time, making a joke about the fires that took lives. They're all sick of them. Holly Weird could fall into the Pacific and the world would be a better place, getting 58 likes. Which, I don't know. 18 people will probably miss Hollywood. Moke has a screenshot from the New York Post that says, quote, man arrested after allegedly lighting a 34-acre brush fire in San Bernardino, getting 272 likes. Which again, we've had multiple allegations. We'll see, if the arrests are made and actually go to court, of arsonists that were involved in this fire as well. Blake says, quote, there's that, but there's also documented actual mismanagement described by people on the ground and not just in their underwear on the internet, getting 210 likes. Yep, spoiler alert, some people in the fire department, not the inept leaders, actually brought to the attention that we don't have the right resource allocation if something were to happen. And some firemen, going back decades, have been saying something like this is going to happen in LA because of the situation the government had created. And one of the biggest blatant errors that's been a cliche for years, ever since Newsom came to power, was they never actually maintained the forest. They leave highly flammable eucalyptus branches on the ground. Now, again, leadership in California might not realize this, but yeah, wood is in fact very flammable. Now, you also have Muff Freedom memes. Well, disappointed though, they did not in fact respond in meme form. Now, they say, quote, right, because it's normal for entire cities to be burned down in fires, getting 246 likes, which, yep, when was the last time it happened? What was it, like 100 years ago, the Chicago fire? Which allegedly was from the cow kicking over the lantern into the barn hay. At least that's what they told me when I was in public school. Who knows if it's true or not. But yeah, if you're properly, if you had a modicum of competency, this fire would not have spread that much. Again, they ran out of water. And again, they also are so bad with water mismanagement. Again, biggest ineptitudes in the world, but not. Yeah, I would say it's one of the most inept situations where you have government officials just doing the worst thing for the people time and time again. You have Avania saying, quote, I'm still trying to figure out what went wrong with what he said. Someone enlightened me, getting 212 likes. A contrarian statement. We did have to scroll to find it a little bit, but we didn't find it. Franklin responded saying, quote, yeah, no water in the fire hydrants. It's obviously the fault of the guy on the internet. Nothing to do with mismanagement at all. Getting 34 likes. We also have Rubino responding saying, quote, can't enlighten a moron. Sorry, mate. Shit out of luck. Getting 179 likes. See here. Any other contrarian statements? Blocks.com says divorce might help Bill Burr getting 1.2 thousand likes. Jeez Louise. Which, yeah, decades ago, they were a cute couple. They had like a little podcast going. But she's a radical leftist, and she obviously has infected him more and more, which shows how weak he is as a man. More often than not, when people get married, the gal becomes more conservative because, Mama Bear is supposed to protect the family, ideally be pro-gun so she can protect the children, I would say, to the best of her abilities when the man's not in the house. Yeah, not disarm families and, make everyone's lives worse. On average, you do see that couples tend to become more conservative. But that's on average. In California, obviously, is an outlier. Rick Lebo just has a picture of him and Mia, which, yeah, she's gone downhill. Getting 26 likes. See here. We also have an AI generated picture of Bill Burr with all the Democrat politicians from Sam Sanford. Say, quote, Bill enjoys his banker friends. Just leave him alone. Getting 903 likes. There's also some politicians thrown in there. See here. Slav Trap God saying, quote, Bill Burr became nothing more than an American Franklin Boyle, a once hilarious and edgy comedian who suddenly and unexpectedly cucked out. Bill can be explained via his wife. Frankly, I think they have a video on him doing something that is less gentlemanly, getting 554 likes, which, again, he used to be much more bombastic and roast, like, I would say nearly both sides, politically speaking, equally, like decades ago. But yeah, he's since then becoming much more left. And I mean, and I have friends pretty much of all political identities. Even my friends on the left think that California was mismanaged. They don't, I mean, I can't believe he's saying, oh yeah, they did a great job. Now, that's not to say that the firemen over there are doing their best they can with the resources they have, but in terms of mismanagement, I can't fathom someone saying, oh yeah, we think it's managed well. Yet Bill Burr is sticking to that story. So we'll see. And again, he's got one of the biggest cult followings out there. He's a multimillionaire, exceedingly successful comedian. I doubt this will impact his ticket sales more than 2%. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinating to hear what you have to say. And going over to the political part podcast, you have the FDA officially authorizing the sale of Zyn nicotine pouches for sale. Now, this comes to us thanks to NBC News, which is somehow still in business. I always forget that from time to time. And they say, quote, FDA officially authorizes Zyn nicotine pouches for sale following a health review. The nicotine-infused pouches have exploded in popularity in recent years, though public health officials have warned about their usage among young people. Here you can see like 20 cans of those Zyns and all the fun flavors. Now, the FDA also has an interesting exemption. The FDA, and we'll see if they're successful. The FDA wants to get rid of 95% of nicotine in tobacco cigarettes, which is ridiculous. I don't think they're going to get that through. And I can't think the consumer pushback would be, visceral to say the least. But in that same statement where they're talking about, getting rid of the 95% of nicotine from traditional smoking tobacco cigarettes, they did say they wanted to want exemptions for vaping as well as these pouch thingamajigs. So it's interesting what they are approving and what they're not. Now, this comes with thanks to Rob Weil, and he says, quote, the U.S. FDA formally authorized Zyn nicotine pouches for sale after conducting a, quote, extensive scientific review, which I'm sure everyone trusts and is not at all biased. Haha! Fun. Now, they say, quote, the agency said it found that the particular pouches posed lower risk of cancer and other serious health conditions compared to cigarettes, as well as in relation to other smokeless tobacco products. The agency also found that the pouches had even the potential to benefit cigarette smokers amid evidence that they can get them to quit, which, I don't know, I'm pretty skeptical. They said the same thing about vaping, and then an interesting thing happened. A record number of people got in the tobacco category who normally wouldn't. So you had people who would never touch a traditional cigarette get into vaping. And then some of them did go on to, the traditional tobacco cigarette. But yeah, instead of, getting people off cigarettes, it kind of just created a new category and exploded in usage. You can't throw a brick out of a window anywhere in the US, it seems, without hitting one of those rudimentary, vape shops that look moderately questionable at best. Now, they say that, quote, the data show that these nicotine pouch products meet the bar by benefiting adults who use cigarettes and or smokeless tobacco products and completely switch to these products. I'll quote this by Matthew Farrell, the Director of Office of Science at the FDA's Center of Tobacco Products. They say that Zyn has exploded in recent years in the wake of viral online meme trend, even prompting a shortage last year. Yeah, it was so, and again, not financial advice. It's fascinating to see the parent company, Altria, as well as Philip Morris International. Well, yeah, it's been so successful. They're building an entire new facility to produce them, I believe in Colorado. It's that successful. They're building a whole new facility. I think it's the first new tobacco-related product facility in decades. Because again, in the U.S., on average, there's actually been a decrease in the adoption rate of traditional tobacco products. Other countries, they're booming, which is why these businesses have seemingly been stable, if not sometimes their sales going up on a global scale. But yeah, it's been that successful, especially in the U.S., and there's been a controversy of all these podcasters at the same time, like not just Bill Burr, but specifically, is it Bart Chrysler? I'm kidding, his real name is Bert. But they have all these podcasts where they go, oh yeah, we're not sponsored by them. And they'll have a whole big table of these Zyns, and it turns out, yeah, a third party paid them. Like a third party marketing company, which can't but wonder who they work with, allegedly. We'll see if they take this video down now, which this is why you should always tune into rumble.com, where my videos are not censored or taken down unceremoniously. Well, they say, quote, to that latter point, FDA found that so far, Zyn use among the youths appeared relatively low, those continuing to monitor the trend. A spokesperson for Philip Morris International, which owns U.S. rights to Zyn, did not immediately respond or request a comment. Swedish Match, the developer of Zyn, said in a statement, the FDA's authorization of all Zyn nicotine pouches currently marketed by Swedish Match in the U.S. is an important step to protect the public health by providing a better alternatives to cigarettes and other traditional tobacco products to adults 21 plus. They say of course, this group's for everything. This is a group called the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, slammed the FDA's decision in a separate statement. They say, quote, the FDA today, again, click that subscribe button. It might help with my speaking ineptitudes. Lord knows I have many. The FDA today has set a dangerous precedent that puts the nation's kids at risk by authorizing the sale of 20 Zyn nicotine pouch products with flavors that clearly appeal to kids, including chill citrus, cool mint, and peppermint, unquote. Which, I don't know, I can't help but think that's one of the most rude. I always take issue with that argument because, again, they said the same thing with vaping, and I know a lot of my friends, and my friends are all in their 30s or 40s these days or older than that. I mean, a lot of them love these flavors that they say target kids. One of my friends to me, I think it's silly, but he loves the Skittle flavored vape pens, which again I think is ridiculous. But I don't know if these companies are necessarily doing that. I think they're trying to capture on kind of the millennial trend of wanting flavor. I don't know. Let me know do you think it's really targeting kids using those flavors? Because again, when I talk to my adult friends, an overwhelming majority of them are choosing the candy flavors, not like the wintergreens. The wintergreens, that's a traditional tobacco flavor. Now they say, quote, the FDA's decision is deeply troubling given the extensive scientific evidence that flavored tobacco products appeal to kids, and the fact that nicotine pouches were the only category of tobacco product that saw an increase in youth last year. The FDA is sanctioning a flavored tobacco product as already an increasing popularity of kids, and repeating the same mistake it made with Juul that resulted in youth e-cigarette pandemic. Now, the agency also said there's no such thing as a safe tobacco product. Youth should not use tobacco products, and adults who do not use tobacco products should not start, which, again, that's a lot of them are starting on these Zyns. It's gone viral on social media in 2024. You couldn't watch a single mainstream comedy podcast without seeing a table of that crap. And not to be too pejorative, I don't know if it's really crap. I never tried the dang thing. I just don't see much of an upside to it. But yeah, it is interesting to see that they finally got authorization. So I'm sure the investors they can exhale and breathe a little bit easier, because Lord knows they can just one stroke of a pen basically ban a product, kind of like Juul. They were the most fastest growing tobacco alternative products in history, and all of a sudden they're shelved for, I think it was a couple of years. And obviously that killed their sales cycle to no end. So it'll be interesting to see how much this increases the sale of the products. Now that's, fully, will they get additional investment if needed? Probably, because again, they got the green light. And let me know, do you think a majority of people who are buying Zins, are they people who are traditional tobacco smokers? Are they people who are interested in nicotine and thinking about getting into just the concept of, ingesting nicotine on a daily basis? Leave me your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. And going over to the business blunder of the day, you have John Deere sued by the FTC for monopolizing repairs. Now, this comes to us thanks to the Associated Press. You can see the iconic green tractor company. They say, quote, well, specifically when I say they, excuse me, with that, I love tech issues. Although I can never be too upset, because if tech worked perfectly, that'd be half my job down the drain for a tech company. Specifically, John O'Connor, who's a writer over there, says, quote, FTC sues John Deere Company for monopolizing farm equipment repair market. Which, spoiler alert, pretty sure they're going to win. We'll see. Now, they say, quote, Deere Company unfairly, this is again from the Associated Press, quote, unfairly forces farmers to visit authorized dealers to repair the equipment, resulting in higher prices than if they could fix it themselves or get help from independent shops. The FTC claims in a federal lawsuit filed last Wednesday with the general attorney of Illinois, if you want to insult them, and Minnesota. The Moline, Illinois-based manufacturer produces repair software that is only available to its dealers, making it impossible for owners to seek less costly remedies, according to the lawsuit filed in District Court of Rockford, Illinois, which, yep, talk to any farmer, and they love and hate John Deere. And John Deere is one of the best manufacturers, especially when it comes to analytical data and using GPS technology to automate a lot of the functions of these giant tractors and harvesters, and do it very efficiently in terms of mapping your land and making the course of movement just right and perfect. And then you can analyze your data, have higher yields, the following season. But they hate it because if something goes wrong, it's almost as bad as an iPhone in terms of being locked into the manufacturer and having even worse third-party support. It is ridiculous. So, needless to say, I think there's some truth to this claim, so to say. Now, they continue saying, quote, the actions have comes as the FTC has stepped up in enforcement of actions in the final days of the administration of Biden. Deere Company said in a statement that the lawsuit was based on flagrant misrepresentation of the facts that fatally flawed legal theories. I don't know about that. The complaint claims that the unfair steering practices has boosted Deere's multi-billion-dollar profits on agricultural equipment and parts while burdening practitioners who rely on affordable and timely repairs. FTC Chairman Linda Kahn said in a prepared statement. Kahn also said that farmers should be, quote, free to repair their own equipment or use repair shops of their choice, which lowers costs, prevents ruinous delays, and promotes fair competition, unquote, which, yeah, there's also a reason why many farmers have equipment that's older than most people's cars in America. I mean, it's one of those things where back in the day, they didn't have all these fancy computers, which, yes, downside, you have less analytical data and more manual labor in terms of using the product. But you can repair darn near anything with the just wrenches you have on your farm and duct tape, WD-40, and blow torches and welders. Much simpler times back then. And to be frank, like automobiles from the 2000 era, much more reliable. Mm-hmm. They say that, quote, farmers for decades were able to fix their tractors and combines themselves or take them to nearby repair shops. With increased computerization in the past few decades, Deere, the dominant industry player, made its high-tech repair tool available only to authorized dealers, which invariably eschewed generic parts for higher-priced Deere parts, according to the FTC, which, yeah, I hate those damn computers. Same thing with my Honda Civic, which I normally love her. I love my green little Honda Civic SI with the stick shift. However, if you want to actually replace the brake calibers, you actually need software. It's BS. I hate it. Now that you can buy like $1,000 Snap-on computer, but yeah, you have to technically put it in service mode to again remove the rear brake pads and put the new ones in. You can't do it manually without unbolting the rear e-brake or parking brake motors and then bolting them back on and manually turning them a little bit. Or you just take the Honda dealership, they use their computer and they whirl into service mode. Thankfully, track days, usually the front rotors and the front brakes are the ones that get the most work. So you can repair those okay, or rather swap them out, fix them okay. But yeah, your software locked, even for a Honda Civic, which is, I find abhorrent. So yeah, let's just say there's some truth to this claim. Now, they continue to say, quote, Attorney General Kwame Rowell of Illinois and Keith Ellison of Minnesota joined the lawsuit as well, saying, quote, Deere's made it virtually impossible for farmers themselves or independent repair shops to fully repair Deere equipment, which forces farmers to rely on authorized Deere dealers, which can be expensive, slower, and a long distance away from farms, which, yep, that's one of the biggest issues, like most production facilities or shoot, just your day-to-day life when you work, downtime. That costs real dollars, and with farms, most of them, spoiler alert, are pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Far away from cities, dealerships, and distribution areas when it comes to spare parts. So, having to take this off the farm to get repaired, I mean, heaven forbid you have to flatbed that on a truck, where these things weigh as much as like a Panzer tank. That's going to cost a pretty penny, not just for the fuel to get it there and the time to get it there, but the time that you cannot be working on your farm. So, again, we'll see. I mean, the lawsuit, the FTC approved you to vote. So we'll see what kind of fines there are, or if it actually goes through, or what kind of case that, well, case moderately intended, since a competitor of John Deere is Case New Holland, but what kind of case John Deere puts up. But yeah, if they actually listened to the farmers, they wouldn't be doing this. And I can't but think, again, we've seen the government become more, they've been, again, as I said earlier, more dipping their toe more into these antitrust lawsuits. And I think the farmers, I mean, shoot, I think they're going to stand up. So I think this has some teeth to them, and obviously just makes them hate John Deere even more. And I think long term it's going to hurt the brand even more than it has. I gotta say, the business blunder of the day is John Deere making life hell for farmers, and now subject to a lawsuit. But let me know what you think the farmers will do at the end of the day, because always fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get at 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.